She wolfing on my Stein till I Blazkowicz. The Wolfenstein franchise is one that always seems a little scatterbrained to me. It's a franchise that spans over 20 years, so it's hard to pin down exactly what a Wolfenstein game is. When you hear the name, you might think of the classic shooters from the early 90s that helped define a whole genre of games, or you might be drawn to the more recent entries from Machine Games. But between the classics and the games that came out recently, there's all this stuff in between that you never really hear much about, like Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, a multiplayer game that just sorta looks like a generic World War II multiplayer shooter, or Wolfenstein RPG, which is a turn-based role-playing game. Now, it's been real quiet since they dropped this, just saying. And then there's the release that came out in 2009 that just goes by the title Wolfenstein. And hey, would you look at that? It's developed by Ravensoft, our homies that made Singularity. It seems like they got to do some other stuff before they were permanently shackled to the COD franchise. Some say the developers haven't seen sunlight since 2012. This got me pretty hyped as I genuinely enjoyed Singularity and felt that it didn't get the love it deserved, so I was all geared up to dive into this game and experience Ravensoft's take on this classic series, only to find out that you can't. Wolfenstein 2009 isn't on Steam or any digital marketplaces for that matter. It seems like the new owners of the IP, Bethesda, scrubbed all traces of this game off the face of the internet. But why? It seems strange that a pretty unassuming game from 2009 would be sent to waste away in purgatory, especially considering that this isn't an indie game either. It was a full AAA release. What did this game do to deserve getting erased from history? Well, that's what I'm here to figure out. To see why Bethesda was so eager to throw the Wolfen baby out with the bathwater, I should probably play the damn thing first. Again, this game doesn't exist on any digital marketplaces, and I don't think my recession-era 360 would be up for the task, even if I could track down a physical copy. So we gotta turn to more nautical means. Just ignore the Russian Bethesda logo, you won't even notice the spyware. You play as the same square-headed protagonist as all the other Wolfenstein games, the Ubermunch BJ Blazkowicz. He's less blonde this time though, I don't really know why. We're treated to a pretty snazzy cutscene that sets the tone for this game, and then we're just kinda thrown straight in. Watching the cinematic got me pretty excited again, as I actually did own this game for the 360 around the time it first came out. I didn't keep the copy though, sadly. I was excited to play this game again after so long and to see if it was actually as fun as I remember. This game follows a pretty standard FPS campaign format, linear levels that have secrets and collectibles scattered about. Wolfenstein, however, connects its missions via a hub world. This excited me initially. It seemed like a cool way to break up the missions and maybe add a bit of exploration to the game outside of the typical missions. Plus, walking around actual Europe seems pretty shit right now, so I'll take this as an alternative. This might be the least enjoyable experience of my life. There are patrolling enemies roaming around everywhere in the hub world. If they were only in specific areas, it would have been better, but these guys are a constant nuisance when you just want to go from one area to another. There's no time to breathe. If you just came out of a level drained of all ammo, good luck. Hans and his buddies don't give a damn. How am I supposed to get Blendwrap from the gas station when I gotta move through all this shit? Other major annoyances that come with the open hub area stem from how spread out everything is. The hub world consists of 2 different sections, and one of those sections doesn't have a location for purchasing ammo or upgrades. Don't expect to get there in a timely fashion. BJ sprints like he's running through a school gym with socks on, so that means trudging through the same area and being harassed by enemy patrols, again and again. Well, the hub world is pretty bleh, so hopefully the main missions in the campaign are better, right? That depends, honestly. I looked through what some other people thought of Wolfenstein 2009. People actually seemed pretty positive about the mission structure and the gameplay, so if you want to get a good idea on what the game actually plays like, you might want to try the game out for yourself. As for how I feel about the gameplay, I find it to be pretty buns, but like not all the time. My time with this game was pretty frustrating, to be honest. Not just because of Bojangles and his inability to run faster than a mobility scooter, but because there were little tiny glimpses of a fun game to be played. 90% of my experience with this game was either in a catatonic state or wishing I was playing something else because of how boring it was. Every now and then, however, there would be times when the game would shine through, and I would enjoy myself. This is due to the fact that there are elements to the gameplay that help spice it up, but not that spicy, like Mayo level spicy.
We're into a place that's not about enjoyment.
There's a wide variety of guns at Boothang Blazkowicz's disposal. Most of them are the standard German World War II weapons, but you also get the chance to do some field experiments with some of the guns the boys in the lab are cooking up. These weapons are undoubtedly one of the best parts of the game. Frying enemies while pissing blue energy everywhere made me actually smile the first time I was able to. Ravensoft didn't want me enjoying myself too much though, as ammo for the energy weapons is extremely hard to come by. Then you'll be stuck with the guns that shoot stinky normal bullets, and good luck getting by with those. The aiming feels so weird, especially with the rifle. Bullets go all over the damn place. This can be fixed by purchasing an upgrade, but that honestly just made me angrier. The gun is basically unusable until you can get the upgrade for it. But this also extends to the other weapons like the Panzerschreck, or however the hell you're supposed to pronounce that. You gotta take your frustrations out on something then.
I hate your fucking guts! I hate you!
Well, that's what the enemies are here for. Other than the stock standard enemies with MP40 spraying you down 24/7, there are special enemies that use magic or enhanced weapons to make things a teeny bit more interesting. Once again though, I feel like there aren't enough of these special enemies to make the combat more challenging or interesting. A vast majority of the time, you're just going to be dealing with hordes of standard enemies, which can be fun to deal with if you have enough ammo for your special weapons. But you probably don't, so just suffer. Baskin Jobmans has one other trick up his sleeve though, the Thule Medallion. This allows you to use different magic abilities during combat to enhance the gameplay, or get through tougher enemies. The medallion comes with 4 abilities. One of them is a bit useless, so I feel kinda scammed. Last time I'm buying ancient artifacts off Wish. The first allows you to enter the Veil and see hidden passages or shoot these floating goobers. It looks hella nice, but it doesn't really help with the combat at all. Plus, some of the secret passages were entirely useless, as I could get to the same area without stepping into an alternate dimension. The second is a time slowing ability that makes it easier to avoid machine gun fire, or to reposition without getting torn to shreds. Ravensoft seems to have a thing for time manipulation. Next is a shield bubble that is super helpful in almost every combat encounter. Lastly is an ability called Empower, which boosts your damage and can allow you to shoot through magic barriers. With all these abilities, it sounds like the combat would be pretty engaging and interesting, right? That's what I thought. And then you see how quickly your Thule meter runs out when you use an ability. To refill your meter, you gotta send in these pools of energy, which almost always leave you exposed and vulnerable. You can't use any other abilities while you're refilling either. You just gotta stand there and tank a full MG42 belt to the face like a real American. I know this game is supposed to have some level of challenge, but it needs to be balanced out with the abilities and weapons that make the player more powerful. If there were limited items that could refill the medallion quicker, or making ammo for the super weapons just a bit more abundant, it would go such a long way for making the moment-to-moment gameplay more enjoyable. Again, I think I'm in the minority here with how I feel about the gameplay. I encourage you to try it out for yourself if you're curious. The boring level design, frustratingly mediocre combat, and the generic ass soundtrack that's playing constantly just aren't doing anything for me though. There really isn't a whole lot to talk about with the story. I haven't played a ton of the other Wolfenstein games, but I figure that a gripping narrative isn't really a top priority for this franchise. It's a shame. I really wanted to know why BJ's head is so square. Initially, I was pretty intrigued about this Wolfenstein story. I don't remember a lot from the Machine Games releases, but I don't recall them diving too deep into the supernatural side of things. The whole story of the ancient Thule civilization and the Black Sun dimension seemed like an interesting direction to take the story. Unfortunately, Ravensoft didn't seem to share the sentiment. The story is really paper thin. I mean, you could read the intel that you find to get more insight as to what's going on, but I do not have the attention span to do that. Not to mention the majority of the levels don't really take place in any interesting locations. There's a few levels that take place in underground ruins that belong to the Thule civilization, but those are few and far between. You even get to fight a huge boss version of the little goobers that float around. I don't know why this made me hopeful that we could maybe get some more enemy variety in the form of creatures from the Black Sun dimension. We don't. Again, there are glimpses of a game that's way more interesting and engaging. It frustrates me to no end that we got this mediocre version instead of something greater. I guess I just gotta settle with the riveting environmental storytelling of Hub World. It's also kind of funny how like none of the NPCs want anything to do with BJ or his antics. They're either super passive aggressive and annoyed or just straight up tell you to fuck off. They don't want to be here just as much as me.
I'm busy right now. He's in Blazkowicz. I'm with the Golden Dawn. I need to talk to you.
It's not exactly clear as to why Bethesda and Activision swept this game under the rug, but I'm fairly certain I might know why after playing it. It seems like this game's release wasn't all that smooth sailing. The game was met with pretty middling reviews upon launch, which probably didn't bode too well for sales. Added on top of this was the fact that the game was banned in Germany for having the no-no symbol placed all over it. I know for a fact this video is going to be such a pain to edit. They put that thing literally everywhere. After Bethesda purchased the IP from Activision, their plans for the future entries being developed by Machine Games were probably well underway. The plan was for the New Order to be something of a soft reboot for the franchise. I could see them getting word that maybe people would go back and want to play the 2009 game before the new releases, only to find something pretty mediocre, so they sent it to the depths, never to be seen again. The fact that there was a time where Bethesda actually gave a crap about the quality of their games is wild to me. Even though I feel like I would have had more fun being hit by a bus than playing this game, I'm still glad I did. People put a lot of time and effort into the production of this game, and to have their work be lost forever would be wrong. Again, feel free to journey to the Grand Line to procure a copy of Wolfenstein if you're brave enough. Let me know which dominatrix enemy you prefer. Thanks for watching.